Hi guys, Triple C. I have recently got the Raspberry Pi 4, the 8GB version. The last time I had a Raspberry Pi 4, it was the first one, the B Plus model. And I skipped the second one and skipped the third one. I find them relatively similar, other than improved performance. But then the fourth one, it's kind of different. It's got the built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 5.0. It's got two USB 3.0, LAN port, and all that. Improved performance, better processor, and of course the 8GB version of it. So potentially it could be a desktop, and that's intriguing. Of course, for emulator station, be cool, and obviously it's Raspberry Pi, so the ability to do some tinkering be pretty interesting. So I finally got one of those, and then yeah. One of the interesting things about Raspberry Pi 4 is that now it supports USB boot. So that means you could use a SSD or a 2.5-inch hard drive or even other hard drives via USB and boot your operating system from it. So that is interesting. I have right now tried a few things, including external hard drive box, which that one requires power, and then yeah, take out too much space. So I bought one of those SATA to USB adapter. That works, but it seems to be drawing a lot of power. Some of the functions on the Raspberry Pi didn't work so well when I had that thing plugged in, such as Wi-Fi will drop out easily, and yeah, keyboard and mouse will run kind of slowly. Stuff like this. It had to do with maybe drawing too much power to those hard drives and stuff. So yeah, I got myself a NVMe M.2 SSD to USB adapter. That thing, pretty cool. Not cheap, but it did not work. Something to do with the controller chip that's on the adapter. And again, seems to be drawing too much power, not working right, wouldn't boot. So here it is. I got myself an Argon 1 M.2 Raspberry Pi 4 enclosure. It's an enclosure for a Raspberry Pi 4, a really good one. And the M.2 version have the M.2 to USB adapter built in. And yeah, it should work pretty well. That one supports a SATA type SSDs. So I got myself here a WD 240 gig of SATA type SSD to use on this. And I intend to boot with it. So yeah, let's take a look at this one. Now, it supports M.2 SSD, NGFF, Key B, and Key B plus M. So the one I have should work. Yeah, let's just take a look around. Some logos goes around. There's some text in the back. Let's see. M.2 SATA SSD to USB 3.0 board, and as mentioned, the supported type, and you can see the other sizes for the SSD that's supported. It tells you what the chipset it is. It is Medium Technologies ASM 1153E, and it's complying with USB 3.0 specification, 6 gigabits of transfer speeds. So to use the SSD, you will for sure be much faster than the MicroSD card, and that is the intent of having this. All right, so let's get to the unboxing. Let's take a look inside, see what's in there, and then we will build it up, put the Raspberry Pi in there, and put the SSD in there. And yeah, let's take a look, put the operating system to it to see how much faster it can be and some other stuff. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay. So right off the bat, it's the enclosure itself. It's got some weight to it, actually. It's not light. All right, let's see what's here. Instruction manual. In this case, it's probably useful to have instruction manual. This is not bad. Look at this. It's colored. Cool. So it shows you how to install it. Tells you about the pin here and the IR sensor it got. So you can use a remote control. I got a universal remote control, the Harmony thing from Logitech, and I also got this thing for my LEDs. Hopefully one of those will work, probably. So yeah, it has a power button on this thing, so it tells you to set the jumpers, so it'll work with the power button that's on the Argon case. Yeah, what else? How to plug things in, how to install it. Cool. It teaches you how to set up the power button for your Raspberry Pi OS and how to do the fan controls. So we'll take a look at that. Fan speed stuff. Cool. So a very useful instruction manual. Usually I just do it to the side, but this one we're gonna keep. Now let's take a look at this thing. All right. The top case is heavy. The whole thing is metal. Okay, so I noticed some magnets there, so if I'm right, I can just simply take this bit off. Yeah. You can hear that this thing is metal. That's cool. This thing is magnetic. Just put it on. Here you can see all the GPIO pin out. Very useful. All the pin outs are here. You don't need to go into the browser and try to figure it out every time. So that's good. And those GPIO with this PCB board goes here. So you plug that bit right onto the Raspberry Pi. And then, yeah, use those GPIOs. That's good. Now, I see the enclosure itself is a heatsink, so it's relatively large. That should help cooling very well. Here are two heatsink metal bits that will go onto the Raspberry Pi processor. This should go into the memory or something. And then looks like it's got an exhausting fan. The exhaust fan should push the air. Where did it go? I think this is just for venting. I think the air goes, I'm not too sure. But yeah, once we install it, we'll see. And then what else is here? Yeah, here is that jumper. So you can see default jumper is for you to use this power button. And then if you set it to 2 to 3 on the jumper, then you plug the power in, you'll just go on. So obviously by this case, you can use the power button. It's great. And here's the IR sensor. So you can use a remote control for that. Okay, so let's look at the other bit. This part is a converter board. It converts the mini HDMI. Yeah, that's right. Mini HDMI to the both sides HDMI here. So, and also the audio jack to the back of the case. So you can easily plug in the regular HDMI port instead of using the mini HDMI. Let me tell you, this is a good thing to have it converted like that, because for these mini HDMI to HDMI converter, I have already banned one of those. So easily banned, because the plug on the Raspberry Pi, it's really strong, but those converters are not, because look how small it is, and then this unit is actually quite large. So when you have a thick cable, HDMI cable plugged into it, and you're not careful, it can easily bend the front part of it and then broke it off. So I have already broken off one of those, and then I have been very careful with this one. Now, if I use the Argon case, I don't have to worry about that because it's converted into the regular HDMIs. Then that wouldn't be a problem anymore. All right, let's see what else is in here. Here we see some, feels like thermal pad and some screws. That should be thermal pad as well. And we'll follow instructions, see how that works. And here is the USB-C, sorry, USB 3.0 to USB 3.0. So this is the it's for the M.2 bit, which is at the very bottom. Here you can put an M.2 SSD, and then at the bottom here is a USB port. So you will use this, plug it in here, and this side goes to the Raspberry Pi. Well, the back of the Raspberry Pi, something like this once you have it installed. So yeah, and that will enable the M.2 functionality. Yeah, and that's that. That's cool. And let's take this off. The bottom part of it is plastic. Oh, I can see that logo there, which is kind of nice under the light. Here it's got I should say 4 stands. Do they have like rubber stands for it? I don't see any. I don't see any. I guess I have to find some. Could it be in the box? Nope. Yeah, so I guess you can just buy some rubber feet and prevent it from slipping around. I really don't see it, so I guess you didn't include that. Or, oh, wait a minute. Is this it? You know what? Let's figure it out. We'll figure it out. It should be something. It's like this. Okay, so that's what's inside the Argon packaging, and yeah, let's get to building it. And then right now, we untwist the OS, copying writing the image to the SSD. Okay, so that's how I do it. I'm in twist the OS, use the Raspberry Pi imager, and writing the image to the 240GB SSD. And once it's done, and we will see if we can boot from it, and we'll go from there. Okay, so now I just copied the image to the SSD, so we're going to see if it's working normally. Once we remove the MicroSD card, the case itself, because it's heatsink itself, you can feel it actually kind of warm. So I guess it's doing its thing. It's warm all around, so that's interesting. It's warm all around. Okay, so let's do that. It is one of the kind of a issue, I would say. You can consider it as an issue of this Argon case, that you cannot access the SD card. It is meant for using that SSD as a permanent solution for your Raspberry Pi, whether if it's for your specific purpose or as a desktop environment, mini computer. That's what it's meant to do. So I suppose that's why they didn't create another opening to access the MicroSD card. Could be a little bit more difficult. Alright, so I just booted. I can see the OS, twist the OS. Alright, so it's working. That's great. Right now it's not running on the MicroSD card, it's running on the SSD, M.2 SSD. Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna go through the configuration and sort of set it up a little bit, and let's check out the setup. I followed the Argon instruction on installing the fan speed control software, but the icon created on the desktop does not work. So I had to search around the web. This is how I got it to work. By opening the terminal and use the Argon 1-config command, then you can reset the fan speed behavior. You can set it to be always on fall or some sort of default to fan speed setup, or you can set the temperature and the fan speed yourself. And that's it. Let's take a look at the USB boot SSD speed here. Running this storage benchmark. 277 megabytes per second on read speed and 233 megabytes per second on write speed. I'm not sure what its proper speed is supposed to be, but this is way faster than what MicroSD card can do on the Raspberry Pi 4. Excellent. So if you worry about not able to use the SD card slot, you don't really have to worry about that. I mean, the Raspberry Pi 4 does support USB boot, so you can get one of those USB 3.0 onto MicroSD card adapter like this one here. Put your SD card in and yeah, just boot it off the USB like this. But of course, not all the images support. But of course, not all the operating system images that supports the USB boot. Some of the older ones doesn't support USB boot. So For the most part, any of them that supports USB boot, you'll be fine. Based on my experience, I tried a couple of things, but then otherwise, you will just have to unscrew those screws and access the SD card if you want to use an operating system that doesn't work on it. As you can see here, perfect. Boot right into Ubuntu Mate on the MicroSD card that is in a MicroSD card to USB 3.0 adapter. Alright, so we're back on Twister OS, and then we're gonna check out some RetroPie. One amazing thing about Raspberry Pi is that it runs Dreamcast and Sega Saturn really well. I'm using Twister OS, so it's a 32-bit OS, so I couldn't try the GameCube or the Nintendo Wii, but yeah, able to play Dreamcast and Sega Saturn. It's pretty cool. And obviously all the other retro consoles will run really well too. Running Dreamcast on full speed, it's a pretty good experience on a small device like this. So here we have the Sega Rally 2. Let's check it out. So I'm running on my 8-bit DOE SN30 Pro Plus. Bluetooth mode connected to the Raspberry Pi 4. Alright, embrace it. So the Raspberry Pi 4 is overclocked to 2 GHz and the graphics is overclocked to 600 MHz. I can go a little higher, I suppose, but right now it's setting as that, and the frame rate is not so bad. This is pretty smooth. Control is very responsive. Yeah, the Argon case is cooling. It cools pretty well. The case itself, the aluminum casing itself, can get pretty hot, but then that only means it's cooling things properly. The thing about Retrim Emulator is it's pretty cool. You can call out the little VNU screen that's on the real controller. Alright, let's check out some Sega Saturn. Oh, that looks pretty interesting. Sure. Ah, okay. So shoot 'em up. Alright, so this is not an emulator video of the Raspberry Pi, but this game is pretty fun. Oh, I gotta... yeah, I gotta stop running that. I don't know what's up with there. A little slow down there. Maybe he was trying to load something. But yeah, on the SATA SSD M.2 is so much faster. The system. Yeah, let me just exit out of there first. Alright, so the Raspberry Pi 4 on the Argon case is just so much more accessible. The case itself is solid, very good cooling, and all the I/O ports, including the HDMI ports, so you don't have to worry about the cable being bent so easily. This is making it such a more of a desktop computer experience, and makes it so much easier for you to do your little programming, learning a little programming, do your little projects. The accessible top makes those GPIO visible, easy to access. There's a lot of thought put into making one of those, and the M.2 SSD makes it so much faster than SD card. That's for sure. On the SD card, at best, maybe 30-40 megabytes a second on the read and write speed, but on SSD, easily over 200 megabytes of speed, and that's a huge improvement over the SD card. And on the SSD, I can feel a lot more comfortable about, copying file to it, taking the files out, use it like a regular computer. On the SD card, I would think twice about copying stuff onto it. So the Argon case, while it's not the cheapest thing in the market, but it's not that expensive if you just want a complete solution that can do everything. Yeah, so highly recommended this thing. And yeah, I'm really happy with this one. Hopefully this video can help decide if you want to get an Argon 1 M.2 case for the Raspberry Pi 4. I think that makes my Raspberry Pi 4 so much more fun, and yeah, I'm highly recommended for this one. So yeah, that'll be all for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.